Pyramid One Radio.
To call and to speak to Kellie, use these numbers. Dial 605-472-5765. Then dial the access code 608060#. Then to join the session, which will be awesome. Congratulations, you are now ready. Tell everyone we expect 1,000 people listening on their phones from all over the world.
This is a Pyramid One International Network presentation. Good evening, and welcome to Conscious Speaks. Let me tell you a little about the host. Her name is Kellie J. Wright. You all know her. Tonight, be a part of the conversation. What it means to truly love yourself. Free of judgment, fear, ego, pride, and jealousy. She says, we learn to undo what we have accepted or taken on as part of our perception of self. We are free from negative self-talk. Start a 90-day transformation, and she will assist along your journey. Whenever two or more are in his presence is how this works. Kellie's ebook is how she walked her mind out of doubt and fear, one blog at a time for 13 weeks, into loving and acceptance of self. The first step is the hardest, and it will become a way of life. Once we know we can free our thoughts from fear, the work becomes a staple item to the goodness it provides. Life is a gift. So make sure you choose to wrap yours in a world that is created by and lived on your terms. Kellie J. Wright is a successful radio show host, SelfLove Transformational Guide, business owner and voice and author at www.internaljourneys.com. Kellie is on a passion-filled mission to help individuals discover their own truth through her actualized process called the 90-Day Transformation. Now, may I introduce to you, the audience, to the entire world, to the universe, to the light, Kellie J. Wright.
Hi, everybody. It's Kellie J. Hi, Bob. How are you doing
Hell,
today?
what's up? What's up?
It's sunny in Ashford, Washington. The sun is up.
You got, talking about being sunny. Yeah, you got like 40 degrees over there now.
It's cold, but it's still warmer. The snow is still frozen everywhere around me, but the sun is
Really?
out. So the roads are clear, but it gets so cold at night that I still have snow everywhere. So it's really pretty,
Oh man.
especially when the sun's reflecting off of it, like it is today. I declared, I think yesterday, not that it's valid declaration, but I declared that winter was gone and spring is here because it's just so beautiful with all the light
Oh, you got
reflecting off the snow.
to, you have to get a groundhog.
We did, and he said it didn't work right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's not up to it yet. I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. Everything's beautiful. How are you doing there? I know that Jake's not with you. He's on the other side now, and so he's not with us today, but I wanted to tell you my heart's with you, and Frey and I are sending our love and our energy.
I know everybody wants to know how Jake's doing. He's going to get a reading on Wednesday.
Oh my gosh.
It seems that ever since his passing, he's coming through very strong. The energy is unbelievable. I got a funny feeling that he wants to get back. I'm serious. I mean, he had a good. I mean, let's face it. He was a rescue dog. Came from being injured and you name it. I mean, this poor dog went through hell.
Yeah.
And when we picked him up, we had to pick him up at a pet hospital. When we got him there, it was so funny too. The woman, the doctor, head doctor there, says, "Well," he says, why don't you ask the dog if he wants to go home with you?" And I said, "Lady, don't ask that. I'm not going to ask him. He's going to ask me." She goes, "Huh?" She goes, I said, "Watch. You want to go home with me?" So he looks at me. Then he turns around and he goes, yes. It was like he made up his mind. I was like, okay, I'm coming. And since that time, he's been, with me wherever I go. I mean, other than, like long trips or even long trips. I mean, I put him in the car, throw him in a seat. That's it. He's ready to go. You saw the picture.
Oh yeah, yeah. I get it. Yeah, and they do choose you, and there is something about a rescue. Freya is my truck dog. That's what I call her. So she's funny. She goes everywhere with me, cross country and back, and the cats too. It's just even when I got the cats, I said you guys have to be ready to travel because we like to go places. And people are like, "You're going to travel with cats?" Yeah, and they're fine. They love it. And, but Xander is a rescue, and he he is by my side 24 hours. It's like he knew as soon as there's a whole little story backbeat to it, but as soon as I got him home, and I remember taking the collar off of him that he had on from the shelter.
Right.
It just like he just was like changed, and they jumped up on my chest, and he lay there, just started purring so hard, and he knew he was home.
Wow.
And it's they know, they know, and they know when you rescue them. And so Amelia, I bought from a kitten from a lady. I looked online, so I've had her from 8 weeks old. And Freya, was born into my aunt's family through her mom, which is my aunt's golden retriever. So she just was in straight love her whole life. So it's interesting, the different ways that animals and humans adapt to how we were brought into the world and how we choose to love or how we grow to love. Everything can always go back to self-love. And yeah, I'm sure Jake is ready to come back.
Yeah, well, I'm
Good life with
serious.
you.
I'm serious. He was now you want to talk about coming to where he was. I mean, I think I told you the story. And oops, we've got to stop here on a program. So I'm going to keep this thing going.
Okay.
And I'm going to restart the other one.
Okay.
And let's see how come that happened.
All right.
Isn't that kind of weird? Just stay right where you are, and we will just let it go. I don't know, but that just drives me nuts now when things like that happen.
I've just been really mellow. I was like, today's just a great show. I'm just going to relax. I have water up today, not coffee.
Yeah.
I was buzzing off that caffeine. I usually don't drink it so late in the afternoon anymore, but I won't do it before the radio show again. So yeah, I've been thinking. I'll just kind of talk while you're looking at.
We're good. We're good.
Okay.
We're up.
I've been, everyone who's out there listening, this is my third radio show that I've produced and host and working with Bob to do this radio show. He runs all the magic from Florida and produces and engineers the show. And I had platforms that I used in the other two, and they worked well. And this show, I really wanted to give it a life of its own and let it become what it was meant to be, and it's still doing that. And part of what the process is having a plan. I don't have a huge plan ever. I always have a loose leaf plan because I like to be in real time. But I'm starting to blog again, and I used to blog once a week, and it's on my spiritual journey, self-love, the work that I process and work through in a 90-day transformation, which is just deeper layers of what people work on in their, in the first transformations. Everyone's journey is different. I really want to shout that out there again. Anybody who's listening, self-love transformation work is healing inner child work. It's healing the frequencies of love and fear, and that's non-denominational. It is non-religious. It is just human at its heart. So somebody had mentioned today that they maybe had thought about working with me, but they thought that it was a religious-based transformation work, and it's not. So it's really good to ask those questions. If you feel like you're interested, but something you've seen me talk about or something that I love, you don't really connect to, if you think that's the block, you'd be interested. You might be interested to call and ask, because I work with my clients and I meet them where they are. I share my journey out loud just to show the work that I'm processing and working through. But all of my clients are very different, and they each are reporting similar results with just learning to free themselves in their mind from past traps, anxiety, fear, agitation, not being able to, do what it is they want to do. Because I had that same problem too. I always knew where I was going. I knew what I wanted to participate in and what I wanted to create. But there were these blocks, these invisible blocks. So again, after 3.5 years, probably 4, very intense transformation work, just kept working on me, and I finally got the project back to where it's in full swing again. We've got the new website up. I'm blogging once a week. We've got this amazing radio show for us all to connect. And Bob talks about it a lot. If you call in, you're connecting all over the world. This show is heard all over the world. I have people who have been talking to me and reaching out from every continent. And if they're not online listening now, they listen later. And so if you are talking, you really are. And you might help someone on the other side of the world. It takes a village, is what I always say. Self-love transformation work. When we heal ourselves, it's for everyone. It starts in our home with our family, our animals, our friends, our communities, the things that we want to commit our time to. We're able to do that now, and we do it without depleting all of our energy by doing it. We know how to balance love and fear. We know how to give and receive at the same time, so we're not, beat dead at the end of the week after giving so much and having to do so much to be here. It's really fun to learn how to work with your energy, and to really learn how to self-care, and to learn how to create boundaries that are not borders or barbed wire fences, but they are places that that's where your circle is, and it's meant to be love. And I've talked about this for a long time on my path, is that we all have this radius that we operate in, and everyone talks about it. I used to laugh that mine was larger, but as I got older, I think it got smaller. And I'm starting to open that back up again. But in our frequency of our circle, our sphere that we have with our peoples, our peeps, and interests and everything else, the energy flows out from us. And so there's going to be different people all the way through this circle at different energy levels. So you have different friends that are, working on similar things. You have friends who aren't. You have friends at work. You have people that you meet, that you run into, and everyone's on their own frequency pattern. And I always say at the very edge of the circle is the people that you are becoming less energy like to, because I always say likeness gravitates to likeness. And so as we grow away from people, that's really kind of what the boundary is. It's not like, you're bad, I'm drawing a boundary, you can't keep out, don't tread on me. It's really that the energy doesn't connect. So people start to slowly move away from each other, and we just shift. We're all shifting. And once we can learn how to shift with grace, once we can learn how to shift with honor, once we can learn how to shift with speaking our truth and not being attached to an outcome, then those shifts become empowering. People can go, oh, okay, I get it. It's just, it's one of those things where it's our time to shift. Everything's not forever, but yet everything is forever. And so if we look at relationships as something that, I think I'm just going to caveat here. I hate it when this happens. I don't usually use that word, but whenever I go back to something that has to do with my marriage, I hate that when it happens. When I got married, my ex-husband and I, we had, you just smiled. Not that I hate him or us, I'm sad for us, what happened to us. But what happened is when we had our wedding rings engraved, we had forever engraved in our wedding ring band. And I look back, I'm thinking, if that wasn't a curse to set yourself up to fail, because, it's just this grandiose thing that you can't gauge forever when we only live in the moment, right? So there's a difference between infinite and forever, I think. And I learned that through my marriage not working, that there is no such thing as happily ever after as I had it perceived in my mind. I learned that the way I entered into that relationship was pretty naive, even at 28 years old, and really unprepared, literally unprepared to be a good partner, to help manage a household and a family that we were planning to do all the things that you need to be able to do to manage a marriage, which is kind of separate.
Yep.
And so it's one of those things where if these things shift and we move, we should be allowed to shift and move without shame, is what I'm talking about. And that comes down to soulmates, life partners, and I wrote a blog this week called Swirling. And I had processed this blog before, but I'm re-releasing it on the new website. And it talks about it's the beginning of it says, I'm still a hopeful romantic. Now, that's a choice, right? Because in truth, I understand how everything works in my mind. But I still live here on earth. I want to participate. I want to have fun. I want to make good choices. And I want to be able, but I don't believe in romance the way it's sold to us or packaged the whole way it was my whole life. And the way that I had to decompress and work through in my transformation work, so I could free myself to learn how to not also hold myself and judge myself by those expectations, but to let everyone else free from them. Because we're only keeping people hostage in these assumed wants or needs, and no one wins because it's not a real thing to begin with. Does that make sense?
I was going to say that's a big pot of soup.
It's big pot of soup.
That's a big piece of, hey, listen, well, look, I mean, you're talking about, the touching the energy, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
We go everywhere from, as far as, touching and energy part, meeting somebody, and I do it every morning. I'll see somebody that I saw yesterday, the day before, whatever, had a conversation with, enjoyed the conversation. And just because I saw them, not touched them, but saw them, I was like, okay, this is a great day, because I just saw them. That goes from that all the way to having kids in the house and taking care of the pots and pans. I mean, it's like, the difference between, and you know what? Wait a minute. This is the quantum. This is the quantum part of this. Do you realize it's all exactly the same? It's your emotions. It's what your heart tells you feel.
Yeah, and until you know how to what those are, and you're not just reacting, it could be a lot of different things. I'm just laughing because you can't make this stuff up. This is going perfectly well, because I really was like, I don't know how this is going to come through, but I bet you Pride and Prejudice is going to come in here sometime today. And, you know, in the play, there's a part where Mr. Darcy says, you know, women's emotions jump from attraction to infatuation to matrimony, all within a moment. Right?
I just said that. Yeah.
And I always laughed at that point, because he was just talking about Elizabeth and what beauty a fine eyes and a fine face invoke, and Miss Bingley, who has a crush on him, was hoping that it was her who invoked these feelings, and then when he explained it was Elizabeth, that's how the conversation came through. And I laughed because it's true, and I'm laughing again because on July, now that my old website's up and all my radio shows and all my blogs are there, I can pick them up at will. And on July 10th, 2013, that's how long ago I download this blog, and it's in the book. But it talks about that, right? It says, you know, that souls are pure love, and when allowed to shine bright, radiate in the purest frequencies, causing doorways in our divine intercoastal freeways to open up in spectral time, right? So we have these, I always say to people, we have to be careful of the kick we're feeling, because it could just be a spirit memory. We're remembering someone. It doesn't necessarily mean that you run to that, you know, to the altar. But yet when we don't know better, when no one's taught us, we don't understand how to really, I'll say, use love properly.
But wait a minute, whoa, let me stop you right there. Now, don't forget. Now we have auto. We do. We've got. Every single soul has auto kick in. You know, it's more or less. I swear to you, every single soul has it. We came here with it. We don't know about it. We don't know how it works, but it does work. And if you let it go and you free yourself of all that, excuse the expression, but the BS that's all over your body that you get every single day, if you free yourself of that, all these auto things, they just follow one another. I'm serious, man. You can be a different person in a day.
No, you can. The truth is you have to be able to practice it. I talked about this on one of my shares this morning, is that it's one thing, we can find love and we can attract it, because we're attracting from our core. Whatever we are, we attract at our core resonance. And so however we're balanced in love and fear, whatever we've worked through, we can only meet ourselves we can only meet another as far as we met ourselves. So when and I laugh because whenever someone is single, this is for people that are out there single, we eventually end up becoming very comfortable and happy, right? We're like, we finally get happy being a single again, and we're working out, we're eating right, we're doing our self-care, and then you meet someone. And if you haven't done enough work, this is true. I mean, I read it everywhere. If you haven't done enough work, then everything that you've been practicing to take care of yourself will fly out the window, because you've just exchanged one love for the other. You are still, what happens, and when we do that, it's because we're looking for love outside of us. We're looking for something outside of us to complete us. And what happens is, and then that's why you meet someone. You're shining bright. This is male or female. You're happy. You're shining bright. You got centered. You've been doing all these things. You're on your A game, and you're attracting someone else that's seeing that beautiful energy. And the truth is, it took some time for us to get there. If you went through a heartbreak and didn't know how to do the work, or if you're still, sometimes it can be years, and then you give yourself away again. And this happened in my third transformation. I said, you don't have to give yourself away to be loved. And I've always lived and grown out loud, and I was reminding myself that, like, if we meet someone, we should be able to be near them and see and love them for who they are, but and vice versa. When we need someone to change or to be a certain way for us to feel comfortable, if we think that someone comes along and they're going to wipe out all of our memories of love and be the new best thing, it's not real.
Well, you know what you just said, right? How can you be with, now come on, the two of us that have been married and divorced.
Yeah.
The whole thing is, how can you marry someone and expect them to act the way you want them to act? Now, I'm not saying that let's leave you and I out of as far as our attitudes were concerned.
I've got something that. Go ahead.
Because that is something that's, another subject. Actually, I could go on with that one for a while. But
Right.
the thing is, when when two people get together, all right, what you have to do is you have to learn what you are going to accept and what you're not. And if there's things that bother you, you sit down with the other person. You say, "Hey, look, this is it, whatever." What you know? What when you really come down to it, it's maybe one or two things. So
Yeah.
and so many times in so many relationships, everything bugs the other person. And I swear to
That's a
you,
sure
but
sign for no.
I know somebody just like that. And I sat her down one day and I said, "Listen, I'm not even gonna. Let's say Mrs. Smith. All right, I'm not gonna give her real name,
Okay,
but
good.
listen to me, and only going to say this once." I said, "Sit down, write everything that bugs you on a piece of paper, and then let him do the same thing. Put the two pieces of paper together." And I says, "And you know what? You probably both bug each other in the same things together. What you got to do is," I said, "you got to throw the whole thing out of the window and say, look, just you live the way you want, and I'm going to live the way I do. And if I see something, I'll tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, listen, that's it." And it gets funny. You laugh about it at that point, or
I
you
like,
just let
yeah.
it go.
I like that you said laugh about it, because I know in analyzing or researching my life, I look back at some of what I perceived were deal breakers, and I thought, oh, well, how much I didn't know about love or myself or anything. And I've been in relationships too, where with people that they just can't see that what it is that they're holding on to. Their expectation is it's it's so tight that you end up losing all. And we talk about that in week 8 of the transformation work. We work on expectations, and
There you go.
and I say that it's good to have an idea of how you want to be treated in life from your family, friends, and others, but not to hold on to it so tightly that you risk losing all. And there's always room to breathe in there, because there's extremes, and we're not talking about extremes here, but it could be something as simple as that you forget to reset the microwave when you stop it early, right? And so just I know that's not going to work because you forget to do that. And what I've learned in life is that can become very cute once you don't take things personally and you get over yourself. Once you get over yourself, you have the ability to look at someone and love them with eyes, to see them exactly as they are and find them so amazingly fascinating for everything that they do, that they rarely bug you. And if they are bugging you, it's because you have some things inside of you to look at. I'm gonna testify to that, because I know I've done the work, and I look back and think, wow, and I look back at work that I've done in my transformation work, and I've learned that I had a very particular set of a way that I had to feel like I was being loved for it to match my internal code. And that had to do with a lot of fear and things, and just abandonment issues, perceived abandonment issues. I mean, it's funny. My family's with me my whole life. I love them. I was hurt by certain things, but I didn't grow up in a family that didn't love me. They never abandoned me. Believe me, I tried to leave a couple times and they wouldn't let me. It's like, if you look at your life, the things that you've perceived and created as your issues might not even be to the extent of real, that you've just imposed them on other people in your life. And I know that sounds very hard to go back and forth through the layers that twisted, but I could flip it for you if you ever have a question. Just let me know, anyone out there. But I remember very seriously, this is very shaming for me. I feel very bad, but I was in a transformation and I learned, so I let go of it. But when I watched myself not being able to recognize someone was doing their best to show me love with the tools they had, and because it didn't meet my expectations of what I thought it was, because I hadn't learned that yet, I was very ashamed of myself, because I was so stuck in the I. Everything was about me. And I was in my second transformation. And I still worked on that in my third, because I worked on a lot of relationship stuff in my transformations. That's how I created this work. And everything's a relationship, whether it's your family, your animals, your friends, your house, your bills. You have a relationship with everything you're creating. And for me to be able to tear through and look at things and look at and think all the times that because I had to have things look and be a certain way for it to make sense. Like we said, deal break, right? You sit down with someone.
Right.
But I think now that we bring that up, you really got to sit down with you, because I'm always going to bring everything back to us. we're the main plate. Now, when we go to share a plate with someone, we hope that it's open and it's a place where we can all bring things to the table. If your plate is full of expectations, if your plate is full of things that you haven't made peace with, but you think you're just going to tuck away in a corner and soldier on, I did that for my whole life. And I'm thankful that at 43 years old, after proclaiming to Spirit that I did not want to keep doing that the rest of my life, that this work happened, because it would have. And I've been single for the last 3 years, and I've never. That's like a big thing for me. I'm just like, wow, and I've never been happier. But I also know that we're meant to be in a union. That's how we really connect the most deeply. I believe in that, and so it's really important that if we're in a relationship or if we're out of one, the most important relationship we're ever in is with ourselves first, and with God as we connect. Because if we don't have that relationship, we're just an empty vessel, and we're still looking outward for things we're just reacting and acting to stimulus. And that can become very tiring. And I urge anyone out there, it's never too late to do this work. You're never too late to change the way you feel about yourself. You're never too old to fall in love. And that's what this work allows you to do. But it has to start with you falling in love with yourself. It has to start with you making yourself first, setting your boundaries, learning how to respect yourself, knowing that how you treat others is how you treat yourself is how you're allowing others to treat you. And it's really, interesting when those doors start opening. And they do if you do this work.
Let me give you a saying.
Okay.
The greatest happiness of life is the conviction that we are loved. Loved for ourselves, or rather, loved in spite of ourselves.
I love that you said rather in spite of ourselves. I had this conversation with someone on Facebook the other day, and it wasn't a conversation, but I was just kind of sharing some wisdoms that I've learned. And I try not to do that too much because everyone's in their own space. So unless someone asks, I'm really not that person. But I just had to reach out because the person was talking about, the quote was shared from earlier in my journey where it said, forgive yourself for what you didn't know before you did. And that's so true. And I mean, anything, I always say, well, if you didn't know, that's okay. But when you do know, you have to do better. You have to try.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and the person was, at a point where I was in my journey at one point. And this person's really, really there. I mean, really awake and out there and cool. And he was too full of gratitude to worry about being sorry. And I thought, oh God, I remember that, I remember that till recently, but there's so many different doors of I am that you can open that you get to the point where you just like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, okay, I get it. I've always been overly happy my whole life. I used to tell people I'm oddly happy. It's just my nature. And even that, was not, I found out an excuse in some things, though it is a part of my nature. But to be thankful for my life, I am. I don't judge it. I never have. I've understood it's a journey the whole time. But to all of a sudden, in the last couple of years, be at a point where I can actually, with every fiber of my being, tell Spirit, sorry, forgive me, right? And it's interesting because everyone's journey is different. And I remember I love Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 agreements. I burned them into my mind 90 days after my 3rd transformation. I worked with them extensively. And I spoke to Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., his son, and he was actually on the pilot for this radio show that never aired at my old station, and got to spend an hour talking with him. He's very cool. And his younger brother, Don Jose, is a shaman and a writer as well. And he had written, I follow them on Instagram. I love that family. I love their work. And he had written and shared a post about how he, one of the things he asks every morning in his ritual or his prayer meditation is to save himself from himself. And even the first time I read that, I was like, what? But I get it so much now. I mean, it's a practice to be in a state of grace. And for granted, if you're going to do transformation work, not everybody wants to be in a state of grace all day long. It's not what the journey is. It's to be loved, to be fearless, so you could go out and be who you came to be. So when you get home, you could love your family, sit down and have a great dinner, hang out with your dog and you not be taking things home from you because you don't take it personally, right? You did a good job. You did your best work. You come home, you're free. Free doesn't mean, to me, free is free. It's not monetary. It's not that you think you have a better job or a worse job. Free means that you are at peace inside. That's what free means to me. And to me, that's the ultimate goal in the journey, is to feel deep inner peace so we can be who we've come to be. Did you say we have a call?
Yeah, we do. And I also want to remind everybody that the number to call in is 605-472-5765, and your access code is 608060 That's all. Just call in. Call in the number now. We know we do have someone in the phone room, and area code 509. Who's on the line? Hold on a sec, so I can make you verbal. Go ahead.
I'm Tim.
Hi, Jim.
Tim.
Yeah, I called you last week.
Tim.
Every time I talk to you people, I get so much energy. I get it from Kellie daily. But I say it's amazing how good your show is.
I am so thrilled that you're calling us to tell us that. It just confirms what Bob's told me ever since our first show. And now I know that I get to be a part of it too, because he was talking to me about the other shows that he's created and has, about the energy people would call in and say that they, were having good experiences with it. So now I get to be a part of that.
I went through some real troubles too with myself. I was in love with a beautiful woman, but her father died, so we were in California, and it came down to, do I want to live here with this wonderful woman or live back in Washington? I chose Washington. And I've been alone now for about a year, but I'm not alone because I got goats and my wonderful 215-pound mastiff, and I got cats. Life's good. We're still very close. It's just the distance. It just doesn't work, long-distance relationships.
Tim,
my life over and listening to you and changing everything to love, it's been amazing.
It is amazing. It is.
All right, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to watch hand cues. I've got a 2-minute delay on the calls and hearing things. So Bob and I are working on a plan.
Love you guys. I'm off.
Oh, you're off. Okay. Well, I'm sad that you got off the phone, but I'm glad you did, because you just saved yourself, because Tim has been with me on my journey the whole time. And I remember I was actually in Desert Hot Springs when he was traveling back and forth with his beautiful girlfriend that lived down there. I think she had horses, and he used to go back and forth. And so I know that they chose, due to distance, to not continue it in that same fashion, to remain friends as they are. And I don't know more about it, but I always wish that they would have found a way to bridge the distance. I think sometimes we don't realize till it's too late that it's like we talked about before, Bob, that you sit down at the table and you make a list of what's a deal breaker. Is it a deal breaker that we live too far, that it's two different states, or is it a deal breaker at the end of our days where we realize we could have spent every day together if one of us would have, not had to been right? I learned that in my third transformation. To learn to not have to be right is one of the most beautiful gifts of surrender, and to really just know that. And I love that you talked about it. You sit down at a table. I mean, that's kind of formal to me. I'm always feeling, I'm so eccentric in the fact that it should be just known, and that's not true. We don't know things. Men can't read women's mind. Women can't read men's mind. We have to sit down and we have to talk. And at the end of the day, it's something I talk to my clients about all the time. The only thing that's happening is what's happening. And if you are in a relationship where you love someone and they're your best friend, that's what's most important. It's not about anything else, because we have a short time here on earth. If the journey is to be love, and then we should find someone to be in love with, right?
Yeah, that usually helps. I mean, it's like heck.
I'm one of those people that it says it in my cosmic Bible. Master H is my is my love. I love him. And Ken Satia, who penned for him through her channeling. And he said, if you look someone in the eye and you have that soul connection, it said, drop all and follow. Drop all and follow. If you see that soul connection in the eye, if we're spiritual beings on a spiritual journey, and the whole journey is to evolve, not plateau, to learn and to grow, then it's about dropping the pretense that Maya's dream, this place is placed upon us, and to give all, to be love. I know it sounds dreamy, but I believe in it.
You know, all right, put it this way. What you're saying about connecting with the eyeballs and things.
Yeah.
How many times have I said it? Maybe you haven't heard any of my other shows, but some of the other shows, because I talk about this all the time, about I am.
Yeah.
What you do. Okay, this is how you do it. I mean, and believe me, I've tried it and it works. You go in the bathroom or whatever place that has a big mirror, but the bathroom is usually the best one and well lit too. You go in there, you look right into your eyes. Into your eyes, not the rest of your body. Heck, man, maybe I got bad elbows. But, don't look at anything else. So look right into the eyeballs. And then you come out with the words, I am.
Yeah.
And I love you. You're looking at you
in
your eyeballs. The energy that bounces back and forth will knock you on the floor.
I do that with Freya. I get it. I know what you're talking about.
I'm serious. It is
really
serious
important.
Stuff. It is, and you know what? Half of the people that are listening right now, and we got listeners right now through the roof, because I'm watching my graph here.
Good.
But you see, the thing that I mean about this is so many people are afraid to go outside of their comfort zone. This is really outside of your comfort zone. It's outside of the box. Yeah.
It could be terrifying, even for people who've done the work. It's still, you have to remember, okay, I'm going to be okay. Okay, I know how to work through if someone doesn't feel the same way you're feeling, or I'm okay to love myself. We talk about it in the first transformation. This is a new relationship with yourself. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel weird at times, but it's the best relationship you could ever have. When you have I am, when you have that connection, it really opens up the whole, they call it your third eye. They call it, for Jesus, a christed mind, all it is spiritual perfecting. That means that it's perfecting that love. You balance love and fear, you seek the soul, and then you have that connection to that agape love, that true love. And it's divine. And so if you want something divine, you have to work for it. And it's going to be it's going to be a road of work. I was thinking today, I had a feeling, the show was going this way. It's like, I downloaded these blogs that walked my mind out of darkness when I was 43, and I've been working for 6 years intensely, and I feel so young, and I'm 49, but I have clients that are 31 doing this work. And I light up when I think about that. I think, oh my gosh, just think how much longer they get to have joy in their life if they keep practicing this, right? So as elders in our community and our tribes, we really want to be able to show the way so those who come after us can access and have these great relationships with themselves, with others, with art, with community, with music, with podcasting, with reaching out and connecting. I at the beginning of the show, I was listening to you read from my bio, and it came to me, it said, in a sea full of noise, home should be safe, right? And so when we look at self-love, our first home is, I want to say body, but it's not. We've got to seat the soul, and we've got to clear the mind. And that's how we actually get to seat the body. If you look at it, I've been dissecting the Lord's Prayer since I was a teenager, because I've always known, they said that was that was how you get to God. And I thought, well, if that's the way they're telling me, then there's another way through it. I'm not going to figure out a way through these words.
Oh, yeah,
right?
oh, yeah. There's always.
And so, that's my whole thing. I'm like, I'm going to go through.
You know me pretty well by now.
Yeah,
I mean, there is a shortcut somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and I can't tell you. I'll tell you how lovely it was when I found my first one, and it keeps growing because I studied the Kabbalah as well. And when we look at the tree of life, the bottom is called kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's literally, if you're opening up your crown to seek the soul, if you free your mind from fear, to allow your love energy to flow through. And now you're connecting the body, as above, so below, right? If you look at our chakras, the meridian is the heart. That's our balance. That's the middle. And so as above, so below. And then what do? You seat the feet, which are kingdom, right? Everything has to do about balancing love and fear, I believe. So we can seek the soul, however you want to call it, our life breath, chi, everyone can find. People say, I don't believe in God. Well, that's okay. What do you believe in, right? Because their words are different, for everyone. We are breathing. That's breath. That's our heartbeat.
That's a good thing.
We don't. So that you could believe in your breath, right? So there's always a way to find a way to connect past words. Like if anybody's out there listening, don't let the word religion, don't let the word enlightenment, don't let the word, Buddhist, Kabbalah, Christianity, any of those things set a block. Go, oh, what's a way through this to the one true thing I have? That's my breath, right? It's my breath. I breathe it in, I breathe it out. Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. was on my radio show, and he told me something his father taught him, and I was, this was 2 years ago, and I've never had the thought of it this way. It's like you breathe in love, and you breathe out love, right? It doesn't have to be you breathe in love, you breathe out negativity. We're all love. We're just trying to figure out how to get the balance right, and that's the journey. That's how we keep swirling, right? And that's how we take all lessons from an 18th century Jane Austen and move from Pride and Prejudice into a conversation at a coffee shop where you sit down with someone that you're attracted to and go, what do you like? What do you not like? Who are you, right? When we have open conversations, I think we all want to connect, but I think it's the most fearful thing at the same time. So I honor both those variances. And I pray that we all learn how to fight through them, because it's better to try and what is it they say? Better to have loved and lost than to not loved at all, or something like that. Yeah.
Close enough. You got somebody on the phone.
Yay! They'll shut me up.
I just want to remind everybody, the number is 605-472-5765, and the access code is 608060#. That's it. Boom. Get in here.
Yeah, call. Help me out.
Okay.
Give me a lifeline.
Yeah, right. Who's on area code 206? Go ahead.
It's Diana.
Yay!
These guys, they know the numbers.
I love them, and they love me. They're like, we're going to support you, Kelly. We're going to support you and see if other people will call in. Hi, Diana.
Hello. No, I want to give other people a chance to call in, so I'm trying not to take up the airtime.
Diana, Diana, don't worry about a thing. I can see anybody else that calls in, and we can have 999 people on here all at the same time. So go ahead.
And I let Bob regulate that, obviously, because he's at the control at the cockpit.
No, there is just so much. I mean, I didn't make it home until like 15 minutes into your show, but geez, there is just so much. I'm never at a shortage for words, as Kelly can attest to. But like you were talking about expectations and love, and that just really sparked something in me. I'm kind of in the middle of my second 90-day transformation, but it is so important. One of the real important lessons is, yes, of course, to learn to love yourself, but then learn to accept others. And it's not a matter of right or wrong or good or bad. When you can, to me, it's almost like just stepping outside of yourself and observing yourself, how you operate in the world, to accept other people exactly as they are,
Yeah. That's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of it. I couldn't have said it any better in such a concise amount of time. When we can love people, oh my gosh, I just want to cry. When we can really see people without our eye vision blocked and needing everything to be a certain way to feel safe, or having these ideas of what it has to look like for me to feel something. I mean, oh my gosh, doing this work has freed me from so much. But the most beautiful thing is not that I'm free, it's that I can love clearly. And I see so much beauty in everyone. And I love all the nuances and the idiosyncrasies and the joys and when we can clear that ocular judgment, when we can clear that internal journeys, stuff we've carried through lifetimes before, to free that judgment of self, really frees the planet. It frees everyone else. So we're doing the work not just for ourselves, we're doing it for everyone.
You know,
we're doing it for ourselves and for other ones.
Yeah.
I was going to add to that, and for you, there's one quote that I have on here that was done by someone that we know very, very well, but I'll tell you who when it's all done.
Oh, okay.
Love yourself first, and everything else falls in line. You really have to love yourself to get anything done in this world. Guess who said it?
And that is what
Bob said.
That is what Kellie. That is what Kellie teaches.
Okay. Now, the person who said it is somebody that everyone knows, and I'm sure that you've heard this name before. Lucille Ball.
Oh, yeah, I love her. Yes, I love her. And she had a quote that said she had a new religion that was to love herself first and everything, something,
Bingo.
Maybe a part of that. And I thought, oh my gosh, she was the first internal narcissist.
Yeah.
Nothing's new, right?
But see, what she said
I was
was
just
what I
thinking
said.
about that today, though.
What she said was something that I said way before in the beginning of the show.
Yeah, which
Love
is true. That's
yourself,
why I tell people everything
changes.
is the same.
Right. Exactly. Everything changes.
Everything's the same. It's like nothing's new. We're all finding different ways to package it. I was walking around my house today going, because I'm always looking at it. I'm like, so if everything's on a wrap and it's a big film, literally our dictionary has this many words. I'm always looking at how tightly woven we are with the amount of boundaries we can use to create this place, even though it's infinite. And I was laughing because I was just like, it's nothing. If someone asked me once on something I wrote, they said, oh, that's beautiful. Did you write that? And I said, I think I did. But someone else might have too. I mean, there's a lot of people who lived in this world. And I mean, I'd like to think that I was the first person who wrote that, but I don't think that could be true. I mean, there's only so many words and there's only so many ways to use them. And there's been a lot of living on this planet. But, when it comes down to loving yourself first and not being able to do anything right. What was that quote again? Can you read that to me? Is it still up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I put them on tabs just in case.
Good.
Love yourself first, and everything else falls in line.
Right, and that's the thing. Today I was making something for me to eat, and I thought I've cleared so many boundaries of fear that I don't have to run places or go get things or I was making myself a beautiful salad. I was cooking clean, fresh food. I was loving myself. When I often write about this, but I don't know if I share yet because I'm always writing. But if you want love, you have to be loved. And if you want to be loved, you have to love yourself. And so you can't sit at home just waiting for love to come along or waiting to hopefully be loved. You have to practice it and live as love. And this is something that I started like a couple of years ago because I was like, every New Year's Eve, I've always looked forward to something amazing happening my entire life, and I'm like, it never does. And the last three have been I've been in bed before even New Year's, and I thought at least you could stay up and act like you are celebrating life. I was setting the scene, right? And so I wasn't going to go to bed and just like close out New Year's. I made myself a beautiful dinner. I sat down and listened to some music. I enjoyed it as if I am love and I'm having love. If we want something but we're not willing to be it for ourselves, we're just going to sit outside of it. It's going to be that longing again where we're future tripping or we're looking, I don't look backwards for the connect, but we would be future tripping. And so if you want the future now, then you've got to learn how to create that in your life, right? So when I had to work on my mind. I have a master client that's graduated, Camille Collins, and she's like, what I do with the mind, she does with the body. And I one time I haven't been able to work out with her yet because I keep moving further away. But so I want you to help me make my body as strong as my mind. And she used an expletive like, oh great, because my mind is solid. But I wanted to move that into my body. And how we're able to participate with it, to how we fuel it, how we create it, how we care for it, because that, and then when we have those two balanced, as above, so below, mind and body, then we could really care for our second home, which we were talking about our homes, right? If we, in a sea full of noise, home should be safe. Home is safe eating, safe, loving ourselves, creating boundaries, reaching out to connect with those we love, caring for our things, right? Taking care of our vehicles and our homes and our finances. And so the more we respect the relationships we have that tend our immediate reality, the more that we can invite a matching relationship in. If we sit not tending things, but hoping things will get better, if wanting things, but not truly being able to be them, we'll go back to the beginning of this very show. And to my blog that I posted today, we will attract love when we finally get to the point where we're feeling that again, but we will go backwards because we haven't set the true present. We didn't learn to be love. If we can't be love, then we can't keep it. Does that make sense? We're still exchanging it for something. And that's the beauty of loving without attachment. And, I'm living and growing it out loud further and more deeply every day. The first part of the journey was mired in, I always say that I'm going to rewrite the book from love aspect point of view, because it was given to me to do that at the beginning of my transformation journey, because that book was written from fear-based. I was working my way out of fear, so I had to be with it. I had to be with my fear. I had to love it through to work my way through it. So I always was like, okay, well now it's 6 years. Maybe this is the point where I get to really start being love. And I've watched that blossom in the last 4 months. I've watched that happen with creating with like minds. I've watched that happen with the radio show coming back, with my new home in the woods, and with the things that I'm creating with friends and people and clients. And so I see how working through fear-based and is now solidly staking my love-based world. And so anyone out there who's listening, it's never too late the way you change the way you feel about yourself. Because it's never too late to love yourself right where you are. And it's never too late to be completely at bliss and happy where you are for who you are. And when that happens, you have the keys to the kingdom, right? And we talked about it at the beginning intro. When we live a life created by and lived on our terms, there we have it. That's self-love. That's joy. That's real love.
Anything else, Diana?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I can.
So much.
I know that you're on her wavelength.
She is.
Definitely, Kelly and Diana are on the same wavelength, because I can feel Diana from here.
Yeah, Diana's powerful.
So many things that you guys say. I mean, it is all about being.
Right.
Being. Not in our thoughts, mind, but being, learning to know the love that you have for yourself, and being that love to share with others. It's like you step outside of yourself, and it's almost like you just watch yourself, but you have to learn those tools, and I'm still learning them. But that's what a spiritual guide is for. And you have to find a guide that you connect to. That's why a spiritual guide is so important. Finding somebody that you can really connect to, that can show you. And it's like, because I see a lot of messages on Facebook for spiritual guides, and it's like, they have a good message, but I just don't totally really relate to them. But for me, Kelly is she shows it. We connect, and it's like she shows me who I am. And yes, sometimes I get mad at her.
we show each other the truth is, once you do this work, you'll be able to see it too, because what we've done is we've cleared our first layer of vision, And so we're able to see how people are being because we've learned how we were being, and now we're working to be who we came to be versus who we became along the way. And so that's why this work really does help. Once we start adjusting ourselves, the people around us start to notice. You can tell people things till the cows come home. My aunt always says, because my grandfather always said it, bless him, that you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? That's an old one, right?
I always say you can't make him float on his back. That's it, float on his back.
And I remember being in the middle of my second transformation, deeply going through the dark night of the soul, which I'll be honest and testify I never believed was real until I found out. That's part of my being oddly happy that I had to work through. It was like, that could never happen. There's no such thing. Yeah, it's real. And I just remember just going, I don't know, I can't remember the exact conversation, but I remember my aunt telling me, you know how hard it is for you to do this work. And you basically were made to do it, and you're choosing this work. Think about how hard it is for people who didn't know that they came to do it, that are just finding this, that it could be a way to create peace and joy in their life. I mean, that's a big risk to take because you're literally changing the way you think. I'm not going to lie. You are. Yeah, I did. And Diana will tell you the truth. We're changing the way we think. But really, what else would you be doing? You want to keep creating broken records? That's what I was doing. I watched my patterns. I was like, this is the same broken pattern. Mm-hmm. Right? Yep, and I allowed through the people that I loved, listening to them, because my grandfather, again, bless his heart, he's coming up here. When I was a young kid, Elvis would go visit my grandparents, and I remember him saying, you kids aren't listening to me, but this is the time of your life. Right? This is the time of your life. And I always listened. So I was young and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to make sure I have the time of my life. And I did, but it's a whole nother story. I have always been listening to key things. And so when you allow someone to, if you take down your pride long enough, or if you just know that it's there and you ask it to step aside for a second, then you can get a peek around what it might be on the other side of accepting some truths about you that you don't want to believe. And if it hurts, it's probably true. Because that's what I found out. It's like, if we're reacting to it, it's because there's some truth in there. We just need to find out, my truth might not be the same as your truth, but if there's truth to it, we want to go find out what it is. Because again, people are just reacting from within their own internal wormhole through the life that they built to you as a mirror. So whatever they're reacting to, whatever their verdict is their own self-assessment, but it's attached to you because you're causing it in each other. So it's up to you to find your own placement in it and to see, hey, maybe it wasn't in the same context. I don't agree with you the way you see it, but I found out that this self-esteem or this self-worth or these things are things I need to work on, and thank you for showing me that mirror. I didn't see the message that just popped up. Did you tell me to wind it down, or do we have a call?
No, we're winding down. I said, where did the time go?
I know. I was just sitting here going, I bet you that was wind it down. I had a feeling the show was going to be super cool today. I hope it is. Everybody who's out there listening, I've decided that each week we're going to focus on something that's coming up in the blog to talk about self-love, so we can talk about, so you can leave with a tool so that you can think about it. If I blog on Wednesday and the show's on Monday, you can have some time to sit with that blog and maybe think about a question. If you don't want to call in, you just want to listen, you could email it to Bob or I, and he'll read the question to me and I can answer it. But learning to participate with yourself one step at a time is how you change your very world. So I ask you to, if you're listening, to enjoy the show, to know that, listening is the first step to hearing. Sometimes we listen and we don't hear, but I appreciate everyone for being here, for helping me continue on in my dream to really make self-love, it's a staple item in our life, right? That affirmation, like Bob said, when you look in that mirror, go into the bathroom, you look in the mirror in the morning, look into your eyes, and I love you, right? And I love you deeply. Just look in your eyes. The eyes see the soul. Let
me guarantee something to everybody. If you do that, and you really, really do it correctly, and this is no joke. This is scientifically correct. Okay, If you really do it correct and you look right into your eyeballs, and I mean everything in your body, your whole soul, your energy, everything goes through your eyeballs, and you're looking into the mirror, and you say, I love you, and mean it, you will get the biggest goosebumps you ever saw in your life. I'm serious. The hair on my arms can go up in the air.
Yeah. And if it doesn't happen the first time, it's because I know this from experience. If we don't believe what we're saying, we're not going to get the results. So keep practicing until you can own that you really do. Love yourself. I beg of you, love yourself. Everyone is so amazingly beautiful. So amazingly beautiful. There's nothing that could hurt you but your fear. And you can break through it. I promise you. I promise.
Oh, there you go. I just want to tell everybody too, Annette, if you want to see this video in about 24 hours, go to www.pyramid1network.com. I'll say it again, www.pyramid1network.com. It's not the number one, it's the word ONE. People have been emailing me, it don't work. Well, it's because you put one in there, you turkey. But
You're so funny.
pyramid1network.com, and click on the picture that says Pyramid One Network with the actual pyramids on the picture. If you click on the picture, you'll go right over into the main landing page for the station. It has everything on there. It's got, we're on TuneIn 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're on things like Streama, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We have the videos that are there. You can pick out the video of this show or other shows that you want to, and you can watch them right there on the landing page. Kind of cool, huh? Or if you really, really get crafty, you can come back and you can talk to us on the chat room while we're talking. You can actually type in what you want to ask, and I will read it right live on the show. So we have an amazing station here. We got an amazing show here. We want you to join us. Please. And love together.
Yes. Thank you so much, Bob, for that. And thank you, Diana and Tim, for calling in and helping raise the frequency of love, our love currency here on Pyramid One Network. Thanks so much.
Well, there you go. Been a great show. Thank you very, very much.
Ooh,
and everybody out there that's there, God bless y'all. Bob Charles.